guys can be seated. Plug in your camera, Sonny. And I hope you packed in some songs because we're going to be here.
Could be a power
Nice
bank.
shot, my guy. Nice shot, my guy.
I want to share something with you tonight that's very profound for me in my own life. This afternoon when I got here, I went up to the mountain and I prayed a bit and I asked God, what is it that I need to say? What is it that I need to talk about? What is it that I need to preach about? So I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown quickly. I was here for 3 years. Sean will probably be here for 6, 7, I don't know. How many times have you been here now? But you haven't been here for 3 years. Maybe you must just stay here for 3 years, well, then you can leave. So I was here for 3 years. I came here on the 26th of September 2013. Out of a small gaatjie there in Sunnyside. After I was married for 15 years and I was a drug addict for 23. I came here with a hole in my head, a couple of holes in my body, and a lot of holes in my heart. And I was broken. I didn't really see the point of living anymore. And God took me on a journey. And I ended up staying for a year. It took me 18 months to do the 6-month program. For obvious reasons. I didn't do my homework and stuff, and I had to go to my counsellor. So I used to go to his office and then he said, do you do your homework? I said, no. And he says, okay, so leave because you're wasting my time. And then I'd leave. Another week would go past, then we'll have, again, like a very short counselling section. Did you do your homework? No, okay, you can leave. Okay. Had a couple of those. Then eventually I got the inventory. And I think I still have the record for doing inventory the longest, Catherine, 8.5 months. So I still have the record for that as well. Being in inventory 8 months, you're supposed to be doing it in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks probably. Yeah, I was there 8 months. Couldn't finish my columns. And then, yeah, tried to blame my counsellor. No, it's the counsellor, it's the fault. You know, it was everybody else's fault. Jou ouma het jou laat val toe jy klein was en jou oupa het die badwater was te warm. En jou ma bid you when it was little. En daar was voeltjies in julle tuin. Like that's got to do anything to do with anything. But it's never your fault. It's always somebody else. If you go to the psychologist and the psychiatrists, they'll tell you, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. No, actually it is your fault. Because you make choices. There's a lot of stuff that happened to me that I had no control over, which was not my fault. But then I grew up and I started making my own decisions. Now those and the consequences that comes with them are my own doing. So if you were raped when you were little, or you were abused, or your dad used to paddle beat you until you couldn't breathe, or you used to slap your mom, and then one night after you got to the point where you thought this is enough now, and he clapped you through the window the 100th time, there's nothing that you could do about that. But you see, now that you're 21, okay, don't go and buy a gun and go shoot the toppie. And then expect the police to understand. Yeah, but you don't understand. He used to beat me when I was little. Yeah, but bro, you're not little anymore. You're 21. And I mean, why did you have to shoot him 17 times? There was only so much bullets, bro. Probably if there were more bullets, you would have shot him 21 times. You see, you need to understand something, that when you make choices, there's consequences to the choices that you make. You must stop blaming other people for the choices that you make. Okay? So I had a lot of people in my life that I blamed for the things that happened to me. And a lot of it was because of circumstances, was because of the way that I grew up, in the town that I grew up in, the friends that I made. There's a lot of excuses. Lawrence gave me a quote the other day. He says, we all have reasons why we get hurt and offended. But there comes a time when it turns into excuses why we stay hurt and offended.
Amen.
We all have reasons why we get hurt and offended. Everybody, there's not one single person that sits here that has not ever been hurt or offended in their lives. Ever. But it doesn't mean that you have to stay there. You have got a choice on how you're going to live your life. And that will determine how you spend eternity. There's a lot of guys that don't understand the concept of eternity. You know, Romans 2 verse 7, which is my favorite scripture in the Bible, says that God will give to each man according to his own deeds. Those who by continuing patience seek in doing good. Shawnee, my brother, you know what he gives them? Glory, honor and immortality. When I just say it like that, it excites me. Because glory is something that we can strive towards. Okay? Honor is something that every single human being wants. But immortality, do you get that, bro? There's only one person that can give you immortality. It's the same one that gave you life.
Amen.
You see, He did something for you and me so that we can have immortality, so that I can live forever. This morning a guy on my messenger sent me a Rod Stewart song, Forever Young. And although the notion is nice, forever young. Sorry bro, you're never going to stay forever young. See, growing old is inevitable. Growing up, however, is optional. So you can be 80 and still have fun. But here's the thing. Hey sonny, you're going to die. Somewhere along the line you have to beam out of the program and go to the next dimension. How do you do that? I don't know. I don't want to know how I'm going to die. I hope it's quick. I don't want to suffer. But if I have to suffer, then it's probably something that God will give me the grace to handle when I get there. I don't know. I had no control over where I was going to be born, when I was going to be born, in which family I was going to be born into. And I've got no control over the day that I'm going to die. Right or wrong? Is there anybody here that had any control over the day that they were born on? Like you sorted your birthday. I want to be born on the 4th of May. Yeah! Put in your support ticket. Yeah. Please put in your support ticket. We're going to pay. Yeah, 4th of May. We've got your order. Where? Who? How did you order your birthday? How did you do that? Nobody controlled that. Really. Your mom and your dad? That's what mom and dads do. And then 9 months later you were there. And they had a date. And it was, okay, I was going to be there. And then, you know, some of us decided, stuff that, I'm not coming on that date, I'm coming a little bit later. Other ones, mom thought you were only coming next month. You were like, hey, I'm here. And dad was like in the car and it's hospital soccer. Hey, what's happening? My wife's having a baby. So they're supposed to be coming in another month. Something's coming now. End of the day, you didn't control that either. So if you're not in control of the day that you were born, and you're not in control of the day that you're going to die, I've got a question. What gives you the idea that you've got control over anything that happens in the middle? You're so obsessed with your life, about the things that you need to do, the things that you need to achieve, the money that I must make, the house that I must buy, the cherry that I must squeeze. And then, like Trevor Noah says, oh, and then? So you've got all these plans that you're making, and many of them don't work out, and you wonder why. You ask yourself the question, why? Why am I finding myself here in this place tonight on this plastic chair? Well, because of the choices that you've made in your life.
Amen.
Second cause, okay, so why did I make these choices? Are you free or are you torn? Freedom. Are you stupid? No, I'm not stupid. Okay, so why are you making these decisions then? I mean, really? Look at our lives. Look at the things that we've done. And then you ask yourself the question, dude, what were you thinking? Most of the time I was like, I wasn't thinking. It's like, you know, we could see that, dude. I mean, what the hell? What did you do? Why did you do that? That felt like a good idea at the time. You see, there's the problem. It felt like a good idea at the time. Because everything that we do is rooted in our emotions. Everything that we do is on impulse. I feel like this now, so then I do this. Now tomorrow I'm going to feel different, then I do something different. Everything that you do is based on impulse. It's a base desire. So if I can make you cross, it's like somebody that says, I can't deal with these people, they made me cross. Really? How did they do that? No man, this house just freaks me out. Why? Why does he freak you out? No, it's just because he's got an attitude, man. He's got an attitude with me. Okay. Don't you think you put a bit of attitude as well? No, I don't have attitude. Can't you see? Your own insecurities are reflected in the way that you deal with people. So you get into a spot, you feel threatened by somebody else, and you act out in a certain way. I was always the small guy. I'm not the smallest guy, but in my head I was always the small guy. So I'd walk up to the biggest guy and say, "Are you saying I'm short?" Bro, that guy changed me, I'm short. There's going to be a conversation. It's not going to be a long conversation. Because you go take out the biggest guy, then everybody's got respect for you. It's not respect. People are they're just scared because you're a whack job. And if they don't back off, you're probably going to shoot them or something. So it's not because they respect you, they're scared of you. No, it's respect. There's no such thing, bro. Respect. So you earn respect by hurting people, by intimidating people, by making people scared that you're going to kill them if they don't want you to do what they do. So if I tell you to do something and you don't do it, I'm going to kill you. No, I'll do it. No, that's respect. No, that's not respect. That's just called survival instinct.
Amen.
Don't make the guy cross. He's going to shoot you in the head. But you see, there comes a time when you have to start looking at examples of people that was here on the earth that left us a different example of how to do things. You see, the word says that Jesus came to show us a better way. He was born at a time when the most brutal empire ruled the earth. The Romans. You see, and the amazing thing is that Jesus came. And if you want to make it like a prison story, he went in and he took out the biggest guy. Everybody thinks, the biggest guy? Who's the biggest guy? Well, let me tell you, let me give you some accounts of what Jesus did. I want to start with a word. It's a Greek word. You can speak Greek here. Charlie.
He's Lebanese.
Oh, Papa! Okay, not that one. That part! Okay, where's the plate? Not that one. The word is paradidomi. Paradidomi. It means to hand over. That's what it means. Paradidomi. So what's the significance of a word like paradidomi? Well, I'm not a Greek scholar, but it's nice to know these Greek words because you find them. So, the Greek word paradidomi, to hand over, means to keep until an appointed time. Until such time to be handed over. So, here's the first account. Jesus prays in the Garden of Gethsemane. And these guys come in the middle of the night to arrest him. Let's quickly see if we can find it. Go to the book of Matthew. Because I see you guys saying like, bro, what is I talking about? It's lying. Just read it out of the Bible. Don't come with your beginning stories. Matthew 26. Okay. Matthew chapter 26, verse 47. And while he was still speaking, behold, Judas, one of the 12, with a great multitude with swords and clubs, came from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now his betrayer had given them a sign, saying, whomever I kiss, he is the one. sees him. Immediately, he went up to Jesus and said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and he kissed him. But Jesus said to him, "Friend, why have you come?" Then they took and they laid their hands on Jesus and they took him. And suddenly one of those who were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword. The one that was with him was Brother Peter. While we are there, I just want to see something. Just give me 1 second. John, I think it's John 18. Let's reference that. So Peter draws his sword, and one of the guys that took hold of Jesus, he chops his ear off. He drew his sword, struck the servant of the high priest and cut his ear off. But Jesus said to him, "Put your sword in its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword." Now listen to what he says here. Okay? He speaks to Peter, he says to Peter, "Put your sword away, because everybody who lives by the sword will die by the sword." Everybody that lives violently, everybody that lives this life of intimidating people through force will die in the same manner. Or do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father and He will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels? How many of you know how many men are in a legion? 6,000. So 6 times 12. That's how many angels Jesus can ask right now.
80,000.
Right now, He can ask for 12 legions of angels. And God will give him 12 legions of angels. Peter comes out with a flick knife and chops the guy's ear off. He wants to come and intervene here on Jesus' behalf. Jesus says to him, "Peter, if I ask God now to give me 12 legions of angels, He will intervene. But I'm not going to ask Him. How then could the scriptures be fulfilled that this must happen?" And in that hour, Jesus said to the multitudes, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and with clubs to take me? I sat daily with you teaching you in the temple, and you did not seize me. But all this was done that the scripture of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples forsook Him and they fled. So they took hold of Jesus and they led Him away. And they Paradidomi. They handed Him over to the chief priest, where He went and He was tried. Then the chief priests handed Him over so that they could take Him to Pontius Pilate. Paradidomi. Every time they handed Jesus over to the next and to the next. Then eventually Jesus got handed over to the Roman guards that beat Him, that tortured Him. And then eventually He got handed over to the last two guys that took Him and that crucified Him on a hill. Now here's the thing. Every single step of the way, if you look at the life of Jesus, you're like, "Lord, I'm battling with a spot here in the garden. Why don't you ask God to help you? Why don't you ask Him for that 12 legion of angels and just sort these out and settle them?" But you see, everything had to happen in the way that it had to happen. So, in order for the scriptures to be fulfilled. Because there's prophecies about Jesus, where He would be born, how He would be born. You see, unlike us, Jesus knew where He was going to be born. How do you get yourself born in Bethlehem, John? It was foretold. Behold, a son will be born. Where? In Bethlehem. Follow the star. From a virgin. How do you organize that? You see, the thing is just becoming more and more and more and more impossible. Which must give you an indication that there's a divine force at work here. So if you're sitting here tonight and you don't believe in God, I've got news for you. Supplies! Whether you believe in God or whether you don't believe in God is irrelevant. Your belief or disbelief or unbelief of Him makes no difference whatsoever. It's like standing on the roof and saying, I don't believe in gravity. Well, China, all I can say is, I won't get married of once. Because if you fall off the roof on your head, okay, gravity is going to get you, bro. Ek het klaar plastiek tande. En dis van beklei, nie van val nie. Gravity will get you every time. Whether you believe in something or whether you don't believe in something doesn't make it exist or not exist. But here's the thing. We can make ourselves believe stuff. You must understand that there's a difference between reality and the truth. This is the truth. The Word of God is the truth.
Amen.
Everything else is reality. It is a fact that we are sitting here tonight. But it is a fact that in about half an hour we won't be sitting here anymore. We'll be watching a movie. So the facts have just changed.
Maybe sooner, remember.
Facts change every day. Today is Friday. Tomorrow is going to be Saturday. You see? But we get so stuck in the facts. We get stuck in the circumstances. We get stuck in life. We get stuck in stuff. What happened? Choices. Mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters. Death. So, Jesus gets handed over, Paradidomi, the whole time, to a place to be kept until the appointed time. And he ends up on the cross. And the English Bible says, after he had said, it is finished, he gave up his spirit. But if you go read the word in the Greek for gave up, guess what it is?
Handed over.
It's Paradidomi. Which means that God, while Jesus was on the cross, Jesus, you can go look in the Gospels, it says he gave up his spirit. He says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. So, who did Jesus give his spirit to? To God the Father. He handed it over to be kept until an appointed time.
Sure.
Are you getting this? When Jesus died, he knew that he wasn't going to be dead. He knew that he was coming back. So he said, God, here's my spirit. Please keep it for me until Sunday. That's what he was saying. That's amazing. You see, and then he went down into hell. He went to prison, into Hades, to go find the biggest guy. Who's the biggest guy?
Lucifer.
Lucifer is just the warden, bro. He's not the biggest guy.
Death.
He went to go find death, and he defeated him.
Sure.
You see, because Jesus defeated death. You know, Isaiah says, he says, death, where's your sting? There's nothing that can hold me back anymore. If I die now, I'm not dead. Because I'm immortal. And I'm not talking about the Highlander, bro. I'm talking about the dimension outside of where we live. Where I'm going to live eternally with God. Where are you going when you die? Have you ever thought about that? Because here's the spinner. There's only two places that you can go. According to Facebook. Smoking, non-smoking. You have to choose, bro. There's no other destination. There's only the two. And you decide where you're going to spend eternity. Makes you think. Then people say, yeah, no, but I... And then when they hesitate, then you know that they don't know. See, there's a lot of guys that know that they don't know, but there's a lot of other guys that don't know that they don't know. So the thing is, it's what do you know? Are you in a state of confusion? Are you in a state of doubt? Or are you just in a place where you say, you know what, I don't really care. I don't really care whether I live. I don't really care whether I die. And if I die and there's a hell and there's a heaven, it doesn't really make a difference to me. Because I'm indifferent to it. Because I don't feel anything anymore. I'm dead anyway. Who have you been there in your life? I don't feel anything and I don't care. God, the devil, I don't care. Whatever. If I die, then I'm dead. Wake up, Sonny. When you die, you're not dead. You're going to live forever. But you're either going to live in paradise or you're going to live in punishment. Again, you can choose. But I want to tell you something. You shouldn't serve God because you're afraid to go to hell. Because there's so much more to living than just not doing the wrong thing every day.
Amen.
We've become so infatuated with, rules and don't do this and don't do that and don't do that. You focus so much on not doing the wrong thing that you never get to doing the right thing. Because I'm always just trying to stay out of trouble, bro. I never get to anything. I never do anything productive because I'm just trying to not get up into trouble. How's that productive? How's that helping anybody? Yes, I didn't run a stop sign. I didn't hit anybody today. And I didn't steal. Congratulations. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. And? What, you want a junior G-Man badge? Because you stayed out of trouble. Here's the thing. How did your life positively impact the person around you today? Because let me tell you something. If your presence doesn't make an impact, your absence won't make a difference. So, are you being a dingo? Are you being a bad influence? Okay? Are you putting other people down with your dysfunctional thinking? Or are you being a positive influence? Because you get what the psychologists, they're down by the smoking section. They dissect the class afterwards. Pastor Lucas, he didn't know what he was talking about. Yeah. Let me tell you how it actually works in life. Yeah, no, tell us, please. Because seeing that you're such a perceptive young man, we're all under the same welcome, John. Haven't you noticed? All of us. Okay, so I don't know why you're so clever or think that you're so clever because we're all finding ourselves in exactly the same bottom sections, honey. Every day. But anyway, recite for us your doctrine. Please. Bestow upon us your infinite wisdom that we can glean from your years of experience. But you know what the problem is? The first time, that specific guy, the first time that he gets confronted, okay, about his dysfunctional behavior, about the things in his life, that he's believing lies about stuff that's not supposed to be, that you're not as good as you think you are. It's not your wife's fault. It's not your children's fault. The first time that you get him to a place where you confront him, then he's crossed and he wants to go home. I'm going home now. What are you going to do there?
Come on.
Nobody wants you there. So why are you going to go there? I didn't even have the choice of saying I want to go home. I didn't have a home to go to. Because I came from the street. You know how bad it is when the people in the street don't want you in the street. Because that's where I came from. I lived on a block where the people in the block didn't want me to be in the block. But here's the thing. Here's the miracle. God can take a broken stone like me, okay, and He can change me into something that can have a positive influence in many people's lives. Why? I don't know. Because He's God. Because that's what He does. Because that's who He is. It's got nothing to do with who I am. You see, God's not interested in what you did, how you did it, how good you are. He knows everything about you. He created you. He knows you manufacture a moral, Sonny. Toe jy van die vloer afgekom het, het hy die baasstamp op jou gesit. Hy het jou gemaak. He knows you better than you know yourself. Nee, maar ek moet mense eers impress. Moet wat? Wat jou sparkling personality. The muscles. It's amazing the things that we make ourselves to believe, the things that will have, that makes friends for us, that will bring people to a place where they will accept us. You know what? I explained to somebody this afternoon that there's two different things. You've got worth and you've got value. And the biggest problem with us is that we do not understand our worth or our value. You are worth so much that Jesus paid with His blood for your life to be saved.
Amen.
That is the worth of your soul. So if anybody ever tells you again anything less than that, stand on what you know to be the truth. Because that's what my soul was worth. And God had to pay with His blood for my life. That's what I'm worth. That's more than all the bitcoins in the world, dude. Al die cryptocurrencies, almal saam, en al die goud en die silwer. Nothing could buy my life back. Nothing. He came, He took on the biggest guy. He paid with His own life in exchange for mine. That's my worth. A king paid with his life for me. Think about that for a second. Close your eyes and think about this. A king paid with his life to save yours. Not any king, the King of Kings. That is your worth. So what is my value then? Well, the value is what He has deposited in you. Do you think that He will buy something that is worthless? If He put that much worth in your soul, then He must have deposited something of value inside of you. So your value comes from your God-given purpose. I'm royalty. I used to live like a vagabond. I used to live like a scavenger in the street. Ek het ook in die pyp geslaap met hom. God never told me to do that. You remember the story of the prodigal son that went and lived between the pigs? His dad never told him to do that. When he got back, he was restored to a place of authority and power. Just a couple of weeks before that, he was living in the Farko. You see, your position, where you find yourself and your circumstances, does not determine your worth or your value. It doesn't change where you come from. It doesn't change who you are. It changes how you smell, obviously. But it doesn't change your DNA. And you've got divine DNA. Because you were created in the image and the likeness of God. So no, we don't... Sorry to tell you, I'm so sorry. We do not come from the monkeys. Sorry. If it's a surprise to you, I apologize. My problem with the story of the monkeys is if we really came from the monkeys, then why are there not any monkeys turning into humans anymore? Just a question. None of the scientists can answer me in any case. Because we didn't come from the monkeys in the first place. God made Adam and Eve. That's where we came from. So, there's value in you. There is worth in you. You see, and here's the thing. So, Jesus goes down. He takes on the biggest guy and He takes him out completely. And here's the last part. So He says to Satan, what is it that you've got in your hands there? He says, it's the keys of death. He says to him, Paradidomi.
Wow.
Hand him over. Oh, what's that other key that you've got? Oh, the key of life, yeah. Hand it over. You're defeated. You no longer have any power over them. And an appointed time has come. And on Sunday morning, the grave was empty. And when they saw him, he said to them, to me, all authority in heaven and on the earth and under the earth has been given unto me.
Amen.
And then he comes to us and he says, Paradidomi, cast your cares and your burdens unto me, hand them over, so that I can, Paradidomi, so that I can give you and hand over to you rest. That's the God that we serve. That's the God that we worship. If you think that you can put God in a box, if you think that you can just clap your hands, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition, Kumbaya, my Lord, if you think that you can just sing a couple of songs, okay, and that's going to impress God, in for a very big surprise, my friend. Because there's going to come a day when we're going to stand in front of His throne and He's going to judge us according to our own works and our own deeds. And He's going to ask us, so what did you do with the life that I gave you? Because contrary to popular belief, the life that you have does not belong to you. Dr. Alban was wrong. It's mine. It's not your life. Okay, it's God's life. He is the creator of life, so it comes from God, not from Dr. Alban. So when He comes to collect it, I don't understand why people cry when God comes to collect the stuff that belongs to Him in any case. So it's His life. He gives it to you. You need to run it. When He created Adam, He said, here's the earth. Now you need to maintain it. The life that God gave you, He's going to ask you an account of it. He's going to ask me an account of my life, of what I did with it. He knows everything that I did. He's still going to ask me for an account. So what did you do with your life? Did you waste it? Did you invest it? What did you do with your life? Some may say, oh, well, I'm nearly 50, I'm nearly 60, I'm nearly 80. My life is over in any case. You know what? God, if you allow God to come into your life, God can do more in your life in a month than what you did with the last 25 years of your life.
Amen.
The one morning, Uncle Derek phones me, says to me, I must preach. I was like, okay. Usually the other guys get like 2 days or 3 days to prepare. I get like a phone call. You're like, you're clear. Okay. So I run to the mountain. What am I going to preach about? I've got no idea what I'm supposed to preach about. Long story short, as I come down the mountain, I've got this small little ladybird on my jean here. And as I get there down by the gate, I just clapped it off. But it's only on a Sunday morning, man. It's like 7 o'clock. Same time of the year. En I check there gaan die ladybird op die dak daar lê. Miskien it's a ladybird, nobody's gonna know. And I walk off. And I feel bad asking near one, let me just check if he's okay. So now I'm like down here in the sand, so I check, he's like a VW on his roof. And he's like, hey, he's going it. But he's not going anywhere. So I ask him, nee bro. I ask him, ach, was a freaking ladybird. If I leave, can you believe that I get convicted because of a ladybird? So I ask him, yeah, let me just help him. I'm not going to help him buy, I'm just going to help him biggie, man. So I take a small little piece of grass and I just flick him over like this. And as I flick him over now, he's in the sand, but at least he's not in the roof anymore. So I check his swing. Yeah. But the more he moves, the more he's going, so it's like his mother phone. He's going, nowhere. So it's yeah, maybe I must do something else. So I get a stone, small little stone like this, and then I take this little piece of grass, and I took the grass, and I pick him up, and I put him on a stone. So then I put him on here in the front there by that willow tree. Put him there on the grass, on the stone. So now check those heavy lekker. Okay, gooiing, maak die vlerke skoon, check in die sandkorrels, kom uit. Dusting himself off, opens his wings, and daar gaat hy. And eventually gets up and up and up and up and up. And when he got about to this side, just a small gust of wind just came like this. And there he goes, and he's up. And I'm like, okay, he's gone. So now I'm thinking about this whole thing, and all of a sudden God says to me, you're the ladybird. What? He says, you're the ladybird. See, if you're a ladybird, if I'm God and you're the ladybird, as long as you're sitting on my leg, wherever I go, you go. It will take me less than a minute to walk from the gate there at the top, through the sand, to the front of the lady section. But if you're a ladybird, and you're this big, and you're in the sand, how long do you think it's going to take you to walk in the sand? From the gate to the lady section. You see, as long as you are connected to me, where I move, you move. Where I go, you go. I can do in a second what you cannot accomplish in a year. And it dawned on me, God is able. That's what I must preach about. That God is able. You see, when I find myself in a place where I can't move, the effort that it takes him to take a piece of grass and turn me on my roof, that's how little effort it is for him. And I pray and I ask and I cry. And he comes with a little piece of grass and he goes, "Oops," and he changes my situation. That's how easy it is for him. For me it's very difficult. Then he puts my feet on a solid place, on a little piece of rock. And he says, dust yourself off. As a righteous man, he falls 7 times, but he gets up again. And as you get up, as you make that decision, as you take action for your life, what's that step? 2, 3, action. Take action. Open your wings, and as you start to fly, the wind, the breath of heaven, the Holy Spirit comes and it picks you up, and it makes you fly, so that you can reach your potential to become a ladybird. Now the guys are like, yes, I said I was a ladybird. I didn't say you must be a ladybird. I said reach your potential. God can show you stuff through nature. He will help you to understand stuff that you don't understand through stupid little things like a ladybird. He taps into our potential and changes things in our lives in a minute that you will not be able to accomplish in a year. But you have to come to a place where you start to trust Him. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge God and He will direct your paths. Proverbs 3 verse 5 and 6.
Amen.
But you must make the choice. Tonight you must make a choice to say, you know what? Jesus did something at the cross when He gave His life for my life. There was no point from the time that Jesus came to the earth to the time that He ascended into heaven that He wasn't in full control. Why did they arrest Him? Because He allowed them to. You know, just before the Last Supper, Jesus said to His disciples, He says, I am the great shepherd, I'm the good shepherd. I lay down my life at my own accord. Nobody can take it away from me. The question is are you willing to lay down your life for Jesus? The way He laid down His life for you. I'm not talking about becoming super spiritual. I'm talking about having a relationship with God. Because that's the only thing that's going to change your life. Nothing else will. You can do all the books, all the courses, all the rehabs, all the systems. Won't change your life. Having an encounter with Jesus Christ and having a relationship with Him, that will change your life. John made a statement, he says, less of me and more of you. The only way that you become more like Jesus is when you become less like yourself. And that happens when you spend time with Him. Because He shapes us and He molds us and He teaches us and He guides us every day. I want to close with this. I've got a friend, his name is Uncle Dan Dabrowski, and he's got this statement that he makes. He says, the deeper sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you will be able to contain. That means that sorrow is the tool that God uses to chop away at who we are in order to make space for who He is. Because if the joy of the Lord is my strength, then the joy needs to be contained in something. And if that means that that something needs to be hollowed out, then God uses sorrow to do that. So if you've had sorrow in your life, if you're sitting here and you've experienced sorrow in your life, you can count yourself blessed, because it means there's a lot of space for joy.
Amen.
Stop looking at sorrow and giving sorrow the authority and the power of grief over your soul and your body, and replace it with joy. Sorrow is just a tool. It's not a permanent place of residence. It's like a shovel. Life is a cactus. It doesn't mean that you have to sit in it. You know, that type of move. So sorrow is just a tool that God uses to carve away at who we are, to make space for who He is. But you need to decide. I want to end with a quote that talks about kingship and our identity in God. Kings or queens understand their imperial bloodline, and they are anchored in their royal inheritance. Therefore, they always act from a point of nobility, not stupidity. So the next time you feel like acting out, the next time you feel like doing something stupid, the next time you feel, remember who you are and where you come from. You are a child of the Most High God. You are royalty. So act accordingly. If you are an eagle, which you are, hou dan op om soos 'n kapokkie te kere te gaan. You are an eagle. You need to start believing and seeing who you really are. You must start looking at yourself the way that God looks at you. Because that is going to change your life. For too long in our lives, we've been disqualified by all the things that the world has told us, including ourselves. Yeah, you're too short, you're too black, you're too white, you're too long, you're too fat, you're too ugly. Everything that we look at just disqualifies us for what we're supposed to do. And you know what? God came into the world, John 3:16 and 3:17. God didn't come into the world to condemn the world, but to save it. There was no prerequisites. He said, God so loved the world. That's it. He chose you. My question is, will you choose Him? Amen.
Amen.
Lord, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for your Spirit, Lord. And I ask that you come and that you minister to us, that you bless us and that you keep us. Thank you for these people. I ask that you protect them, Lord, and that the seed that we've spoken tonight here, that it will grow in our hearts. In the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.